Hello everyone. So in today's video, I will be talking about the life cycle of the malarial parasite of man. The life cycle of the malarial parasite exists in two hosts. Man, who acts as the intermediate host, and the female Anopheles mosquito, who acts as the definitive host. So this disease, malaria, is caused by the parasite which is carried by this Anopheles mosquito, and it is caused by a protozoan of the genus Plasmodium. So this parasite basically belongs to the genus Plasmodium. There are four species of this parasite: Plasmodium malariae, Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium falciparum, and Plasmodium ovale. Out of these, Plasmodium vivax and Plasmodium falciparum are the main causative agents of malaria. The life cycle begins in the human beings, and it is started with the introduction of the sporozoites due to the bite of an infected Anopheline mosquito. In the human beings, this life cycle is found in four stages. First, the pre-erythrocytic zygogony. Second, the erythrocytic zygogony. Third stage is the gametogony. And fourth is the erythrocytic zygogony stage. So let's begin. So in the life cycle of the malarial parasite, we find that the female Anopheles mosquito, which is carrying this Plasmodium parasite, it injects the sporozoids of this parasite when it bites the human being. This happens while the mosquito is enjoying its blood meal, and the saliva of the mosquito is injected into the human beings, and the Plasmodium, which is present in the saliva, is entering the human beings now. Now the sporozoid, which has entered the bloodstream of the human, it travels to the liver via the blood and gets settled in the liver cells called as the hepatocytes. This disease is caused by the female Anopheles mosquito. Okay, because it is only the female mosquito which is biting. The male mosquitoes survive on the nectar of flowers and they never suck blood. And if we see that this sporozoid is basically an immature form of this parasite Plasmodium. So as you can see in this diagram also, you see that it is biting the human being and the sporozoids are being injected and they are traveling via the blood stream, and then they get settled in the hepatocytes. Now the first step in the life cycle is called the pre-erythrocytic zygogony. This is happening when in the liver cells the sporozoids multiply asexually and form merozoites. When there are many merozoites, this collection is called as the zygont, and all these merozoites are released by the hepatocytes into the bloodstream by rupturing of the hepatocyte cell. When the hepatocyte cell gets filled up by these merozoites, then at a stage it bursts and releases the merozoites into the bloodstream. This happens by about 7th to 10th day. The pre-erythrocytic zygogony, which is occurring inside the parenchyma cells of the liver, this liberates the merozoites, which are also called as the cryptozoites. The smaller ones are called the micromerozoites, and the larger ones, which are re-entering the liver cells, are called as the macromerozoites. As you can see in this picture, you can see that the sporozoites have traveled to the liver via the blood and they have settled in the hepatocytes. Then when these hepatocytes are filled up due to the division and multiplication of these merozoites, at a stage these burst, the hepatocytes get bursted and the merozoites are released into the blood circulation. The collection of merozoites inside the cell of the liver, the hepatocyte, this structure is called as the cyzont. Then these macromerozoites which have re-entered the cell, they are the source of reinfection, basically relapse. So till here, if we summarize, we can say that in the liver, the sporozoites multiply asexually and become heaps of merozoites. Then the liver cells burst and release them into the blood. Till here, this is the stage of pre-erythrocytic cyzogony. When the merozoites have now entered the bloodstream, after this, the next stage starts, which is called the erythrocytic cyzogony. So in this, now we are having the merozoites in the blood. When these merozoites are in the blood, they now start invading the red blood cells, the erythrocytes, and they multiply inside these erythrocytes to form more merozoites. Then when they have multiplied enough, these RBCs also burst and release the merozoites into the bloodstream. As you can see in this diagram, that the merozoites have invaded the erythrocytes and then multiply there, and then the RBCs get bursted. Then when the merozoites have invaded the RBCs, the merozoites within the thin RBCs form a ring-like structure and then they form into a trophozoite. And from the trophozoite stage also, they multiply asexually and form more number of merozoites. With many more merozoites, the RBCs will burst, releasing the merozoites again back into the bloodstream. So when these merozoites reside inside the red blood corpuscles, they pass through three stages, that is the trophozoite, the cyzont and the merozoites. This parasitic multiplication during the erythrocytic phase is responsible for bringing the clinical attack of malaria, which you also called as the overt malaria. As you can see in this picture, that the merozoites have invaded the RBCs and they multiply again and again and have bursted. Then after that, you can see that here you can see that it is a ring-like structure being formed. Okay, then the merozoites have multiplied inside the RBCs, which you can also call as the cyzont. Then the RBCs get bursted and merozoites are released out. This is another picture showing the same cycle in the RBCs. See here, these are the cells, and then the parasite has formed into a now ring-like structure. Then it forms into a trophozoite, then the cyzont, and then the RBCs have bursted, releasing the merozoites into the bloodstream. This is the erythrocytic stage. Then now see what happens to these merozoites now. This cycle will keep repeating itself. It means that the merozoites will invade more RBCs, then they will multiply and then again they burst out. So Then more number of RBCs are being invaded due to the released merozoites. Then again they will continue with this cycle, and each time this is happening, it will cause symptoms of chill, fever and sweating, which are the typical symptoms of malaria. So if each time RBC is burst, they will release more merozoites, and the person will keep having chill, fever and sweating, and this cycle continues. This cycle can also lead to death sometimes. This parasitic multiplication during this erythrocytic phase is the one which is responsible for bringing on the clinical attack of malaria. This cycle may be continued for a considerable time, but in course of time the infection tends to die out because of our immune system, and it can also be due to exhaustion of the asexual reproductive capacity, or it can also be due to the spontaneous destruction of the parasites. So in this picture you can see that the cycle keeps repeating in the similar manner. Now next stage is the gametogony. In this stage you can see that the trophozoites basically which had formed, these had formed into merozoites by their asexual cycle. Now some of these trophozoites undergo the sexual form and form the gametocytes, the male and the female. So we can say that in the stage of gametogony, some of the merozoites, instead of developing into trophozoites and scizones, now give rise to forms which are capable of sexual function after leaving the human host, and these are called the gametocytes. So the person who is harboring these gametocytes is called as the carrier. And after several sexual and asexual cycles, the merozoites can infect the RBCs, and instead of replicating, they will multiply and can develop into sexual forms of the Plasmodium parasite, which are called the gametocytes. In this picture, you can see that after this cycle, the merozoites can invade the RBCs, and instead of replicating, they have formed into the sexual form called the gametocytes. Now these gametocytes are of two types, the male gametocyte and the female gametocyte. Now there is another stage called as the exoerythrocytic schizogony, which is occurring in the humans. This stage happens after the establishment of blood infection. When the initial tissue phase, that is the pre-erythrocytic phase, disappears completely in falciparum form of the Plasmodium, but whereas in the Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium ovale and Plasmodium malariae, it persists in the form of a local liver cycle. So basically there is persistence of the parasite inside the hepatocytes. This persistence happens for P. vivax, P. ovale and P. malaria, but it does not happen for P. falciparum. This persistence of this tissue phase is basically called as the exoerythrocytic schizogony. The exoerythrocytic forms never arise from the asexual parasites and are held responsible for the relapses of vivax, ovale and the quartan malaria. Basically it means that when a person has disease due to the P. vivax, P. ovale or P. malariae, then only there are relapses, but for P. falciparum relapses do not occur. The reason being that there is no exoerythrocytic schizogony in cases of the P. falciparum. In the absence of fresh infection, this phase forms the source of asexual parasites. The merozoites which are liberated from exoerythrocytic schizogony are known as the phanerozoites. So in this picture you can clearly see that there is a persistence of the P. vivax. and in time it can cause relapses. Similarly, it happens in cases of P. ovale and in cases of P. malariae, but not in cases of P. falciparum. This is a schematic representation of the same. The sporozoites in case of the P. vivax, P. malaria and P. ovale, they undergo pre-erythrocytic schizogony, then erythrocytic schizogony and cause primary malaria. But these can also enter the exoerythrocytic schizogony and then again undergo erythrocytic schizogony and hence the relapse occurs. But this does not happen for P. falciparum. In P. falciparum, the sporozoites undergo the pre-erythrocytic schizogony, then erythrocytic schizogony, and then there is primary fever. But there is no exoerythrocytic schizogony. Hence, there are no relapses for the P. falciparum. Now, these are the stages which happen in the humans. Now, the life cycle continues in the mosquito. So we had seen that the gametocytes had been formed, right? So gametocytes were of two types, the male and the female. The male one is called the macrogamete and the female one is called the microgamete. Now these male and female gametocytes are sucked up by an uninfected Anopheles mosquito when it is sucking the blood from an infected person who is having malaria. And these RBCs are contained these RBCs which contain the gametocytes do not rupture and are taken up by the mosquito. So basically the RBCs which contain the gametocyte do not rupture, and when these are taken up by an uninfected Anopheles mosquito, so the cycle continues in the mosquito after that. So you can see in this pic that there is a bite of the uninfected Anopheles mosquito and the mosquito is biting them and it digests the gametocytes, which will allow it to develop into mature cells called the gametes inside the mosquito now. Now the cycle is continuing in the mosquito. When the mosquito bites this infected being, it will digest these gametocytes and will allow the gametocytes to develop into gametes. And from one microgametocyte, 5 to 8 thread-like filamentous structures, that is microgametes, are developed. And from one macrogametocyte, only one macrogamete is formed. This whole cycle is right now occurring in the mid-gut of the mosquito. Now fusion is taking place between the male and the female pronuclei and the zygote is being formed. This is developed in 20 minutes to 2 hours after the mosquito has taken the blood meal. Now when the gametes have formed, when the zygote has formed, it further forms into an oocyst, which is the sporozoid, which has begun to develop here. Basically the zygote has formed into the oocyst and now the sporozoids have started to being formed. These sporozoids multiply and then cause the oocyst to rupture. In between, there are stages called the ookinete. Basically, the zygote forms into an ookinete, then the ookinete forms into an oocyst, then oocyst matures, and then there are sporozoids being formed. Then, when these are fully mature, the oocyst gets ruptured and the sporozoids enter the body cavity of the mosquito. So as you can see in this picture that these are gametes, these fuse to form the zygote, The zygote forms into an ookinete. Then ookinete is changed into an oocyst, which is containing large number of the sporozoites. Then the oocyst is basically rupturing and the sporozoites are being released. This is another pic of the same thing. The sporozoites are being released. Now the sporozoites are being carried upward towards the salivary gland of the mosquito. So sporozoites move to the salivary glands and now this mosquito is ready to inject another human being. Thus the cycle continues once again. This female mosquito can infect another human being, now causing malaria. And let me tell you that a single bite of this mosquito is sufficient for this purpose. These are few more pics which show that the sporozoites are being released, and the second picture shows that it is moving upwards towards the salivary gland. So in this way the cycle is being continued. Now for determining the species of the Anopheles concerned in the spread of malaria, the presence of sporozoites in the salivary gland is to be taken as the proof of the development of the human malarial parasite in the species of the mosquito, provided it is Anthopheles. And there are different species of malarial parasites which can develop in the same mosquito, and such an infected mosquito can transmit the infection to man, giving rise to cases of mixed infection also. It means that more than one species of the malarial parasite can exist in the same mosquito, and when it is transmitting the infection, it is called the mixed infection. And the commonest of these is the P. falciparum with the P. vivax. So that's all regarding the life cycle of the parasite, and thanks for watching and do share and subscribe. Thank you.